Hey guys, Disco here. Today we're doing the spoiler video and review of Resident Evil Retribution. I really enjoyed this one. Um, so the first stuff to kind of talk about, it starts with Alice like in the water for the credits, and then they kind of go back in time to before even Afterlife. Like it went back like it's in between it showing them on the boat and the helicopters coming in like at the end of Afterlife. Then I did the classic Alice says like what her name is. She says that she was a former worker, all that stuff. And then from there it sort of cuts to them on the boat a little bit. So it's a little bit of that, and then when she's in the water, we're looking at a different Alice with like a different hairstyle and stuff. Who's with this little girl named Becky, and then the dad of their sort of family looks as identical to one of the guys from the first movie, one of the soldier guys. There's a lot of stuff there to unpack. Basically, the mom is trying to protect Becky, and then she ends up dying trying to protect Becky, but Becky is still alive, and technically Becky is still alive, just in the house. Then what happens is that um, at one point, and then it cuts to Alice, who you're seeing on the cover. She wakes up. She wakes up, and she's just in a room. There's like an umbrella logo. The walls are just white, and there's a TV screen with Jill talking to her. Jill is still being controlled by the scarab thing. So, and then anytime Alice doesn't reply because Alice never tells them the answer they want, they play this really loud noise on Alice, and she like freaks out over it. Um, and then Alice is asking where Claire and Chris are. She does not get an answer at all for what happened to Claire and Chris and all the other people on the boat. So I tried to do some research on that. The only thing I could find was that the actor for Chris didn't want to reprise his role in this movie, which makes me think that Chris and Claire were gonna be like may have actually been shown, or at least something with her. Because I don't even because they could have at least had Claire, but they didn't even have her. So I'm not sure why the two of them were absent. I honestly couldn't tell you an answer. The only thing I know is that the actress that played Alice, cannot think of her name, nor can I pronounce it. It's kind of a weird name. It's a weird name for me to pronounce. Um, she is. She said in an interview that they're captured by Umbrella. That's all that we have to go off of what they're doing. But yeah, so Alice is then the power at this facility shuts down. Alice gets her outfit, the one she's currently wearing on the cover there. She's like walking through. I kind of forgot to mention she kind of becomes a little important later. So, um, there's a girl driving a car for Becky and Becky's mom, which is someone that looks a lot like Alice. A little longer hair, a little different outfit, but you know. And basically, that girl looks like the one girl from one that like got bit a bunch and died and became a zombie on the train. If you guys remember that part of the first movie, or me talking about that part of the first movie. So then what happens is, yeah, so Jill's in the facility. She ends up in Tokyo, and she's just kind of walking around. She ends up in a control room, and and like the control room gets like set up, everybody's dead. There's Ada in this movie. Ada in this movie is wearing close to what she wears in 4, I believe. She's wearing the classic red dress, but it's not the one from 2. She's wearing it's a red dress, but it has like the patterns on it, which is similar to what she wore in the 4th movie. And then, in addition to that, but yeah, so Ada and Alice fight. Alice somehow knows who Ada is. It's not explained how. She just knows who Ada is. It's not really explained. Um, the two, and then Wesker pays them a visit on these monitors, and he's telling them that he has a way for them to escape. He has a strike team and all this stuff. He tells them where to go. The Red Queen hacks through the computers and, of course, screws up his message. Then when he talks about the strike team, it shows Leon, Lufer, who Lufer is in Afterlife. They show Leon. Leon is wearing a jacket similar to what he wore in 4, but he's also a lot different. He's very similar to to 4 Leon in terms of looks, except he has like a beard, which I don't believe he had in 4 Resident Evil 4, and he's shown wearing a few other things. He still has the hots for Ada, just like in the games. Like, my god, dude, she's never gonna get with you. Like, it's kind of obvious at this point, but he's still trying. He's determined, and I admire that about Leon. He's going for it. But yeah, him, Lufer. They also have Barry. Barry doesn't talk a whole lot. Barry's wearing like a red jacket. He's also he's kind of he's not fair really. They kind of did him dirty in this movie. I like Barry as a character, but he's very different than the movies, and they kind of, we'll get to him. And then there was 2 other people with them that I believe are not from games. So Alice and Ada are going for this facility. End up and basically it's like there's a lot of simulations. It's Wesker was telling them a bit about it. Basically, they would what Umbrella used this facility for. It's like the main facility, I guess. Is it does simulations of the virus bio like weapons, and at different like places of like the world, and then sells that data to a country that they know has interest in the information for that country. So basically, it turned into like a bunch of countries having information on a bioweapon against another country. Like they both had data against each other about that. So while Ada and Alice are in the room, or they're in a New York simulation room, and there's 2 of the big zombies from Afterlife with the axe. There's 2 of them, so they're fighting them. They end up blowing them up because one of them threw his axe at like a gas thing. So they and then they get their axe, and then both of them get their axes stuck in a taxi. So Alice and Ada shoot the taxi in a way that would make it all the gasoline and stuff explode, killing them, and then they move on. Meanwhile, the strike team I don't know if there was a firework or a gunshot, but there was a lot of noise outside. So if I die, um, it's not even the 4th of July. What is happening? I I'm kind of on edge a little bit because I don't want to die today. But anyways, basically, so the strike team they're in Moss. They end up like going down this elevator. They set up bombs. The bombs are there to explode the facility. They're also technically Plan B. And they end up in the Moscow facility. Now, because the Red Queen has control, she is, of course, setting all these simulations. So in Moscow, there's basically zombie, like, Soviet soldiers just shooting at them. They're fighting back. One of them, which I believe is a reference to Resident Evil 4, besides all of Leon, has a chainsaw, and he chainsaws one of the guys at one point. There's a liquor. Think liquor. There's a liquor in there. Giant liquor. Looks a lot better than the first movie. I can tell you that much. It eats a guy that like had the information for an exit, leaving Lufer, Barry, and Leon. Now, while that's all happening, Alice and Ada are in. They're in the simulation. They're in a simulation room that looks very much like the one Becky and them are in. They end up going into a house. Alice kills a zombie, finds Becky. Becky believes that that's her mom because, again, there's all those Alices. And Alice just sort of, our Alice basically takes the role of being her mom. So yeah, Becky's just her child now. And then Ada, of course, is there. Ada's, of course, being like, I could show you hundreds of, like, Becky's like, she's not real, but obviously Alice is, very hell bent on keeping her safe, which I like. Jill shows up. Jill is still, evil because Jill still has the scare thing on her, and there's also clone versions of all the characters from the first movie, like shooting at them and just some random soldiers. Like the soldiers from the first movie, none of the other characters from the first movie. So they're get into a firefight with them. Ada tells Alice and to leave. Alice, of course, takes Becky with her. Then Ada escapes like an explosion, and then you don't see her for a while. Alice and Becky end up in a tunnel. They meet the girl that was in that car driving. That was in that car. Was Becky and her mom earlier, and then oh yeah, so they see her, and she's talking about how she was against like guns and all that stuff. Alice gets her to shoot. Um, she has two of the guns she's holding up there, and she gave this girl one of them and was like, "It's like a camera, point and shoot," and gets her to shoot it. And then she goes, "Congratulations, you're now a badass," which is a great line. Another great line is Alice leaves the two of them. Alice leaves her to protect Becky because she goes to, she promises she'll be right back. So Alice leaves, and then Becky goes, I met your sister earlier. She's not very nice." And obviously, this girl is confused because they're all like, they're basically designed for the simulation thing. So obviously, she didn't have know like what she was talking about. But I thought that was funny. Then it cuts to the Liker eating the guy, that I was talking a little bit about earlier. Alice hits it with a car. Luther, Leon, and Barry get in. They're driving around. Leon and Barry are shooting some of the Soviet soldier zombie things. Yeah, they can use guns in this movie. One of them has an RPG and is shooting that a few times. They also are shooting guns at them. These zombies are getting advanced, dude. Like, by God, they can use guns now. Like, that's in drive vehicles. Like, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, basic. So they're dealing with them, and then they end up like, so they end up in a tunnel. They think that they trapped the. They think that they killed the liquor. Um, and they, or of course, they end up and they find out Becky and the other girl. Her name is never given. They find those two, and they move towards the elevator. Um, the liquor gets out though, like they show it getting out, and then when they get to the elevator, the liquor um, grabs Becky and then kills the girl, the one girl that they found in the tunnel. So she's dead. And then Alice decides to go after Becky to like protect her. So while Alice is going after the liquor, was Becky that has Becky, Jill, and all the characters, thing like and all those things that look like the characters from the first movie show up, and they get into a gunfight with Leon, Luther, and Barry. Barry also got attacked by the liquor, so he's like super bloody. He's and so they're fighting. Alice is climbing up the elevator thing to go get Becky, and then as they're fighting, Barry tells Luther and Leon that he's gonna stay behind because they need to leave, and that he's having too much fun. So he's just going down the soldiers. Um, the one girl soldier from the first movie, the one that died on the train as a zombie, she has Ada in handcuffs with a gun pointed towards her, and Barry comes out holding his revolver. The the guy that gets cut by the diamond pattern laser starts immediately open firing on Barry for some reason. Barry falls on the ground, but catches the gun as it's falling down, shoots him and kills him, and then they all gun down Barry. So Barry's unfortunately now dead. I thought Barry was cool in this movie. I would have liked for him to do more, but yeah, unfortunately they just killed him off, and he didn't get to do a whole lot. And then, well, that's happened, and then Leon and Luthor are still fighting them. The bomb ends up going off during that, which, like, of course, crumbles a bunch of the simulation rooms, and there's just, like, water everywhere now, which pushes the elevator up. Well, Leon gets it to start going up. They get Alice and Becky on their way up, and then they get into this armored sort of tank thing that the strike team drove there, and they start moving out, and then they like they sort of get stuck, and they hear basically Jill and the one girl, soldier that still has Ada sort of, and Ada's own handcuffs show up, and this is weird. So basically, Becky stayed in the like armored tank vehicle thing that's just flipped over. Luthor and I don't remember what the Jill froze the girl soldier. I wish I could remember the name, but Jill froze her a virus, like straight up froze her this virus thing. I forget what they called it, but it was said earlier. It was the virus in Moscow was those like Russian soldier guys, I believe, and basically what it did for her was bullets. Was it like basically sort of made her immortal in a way. What I mean by that is, Luthor and Leon get the privilege of fighting her, so they immediately open fire, and you see the bullets like go through her body, like go through her arms, and then they fall out of her fingertips into the snow. So those two are fighting her, and Jill's fighting Alice. Jill has this sort of spear. She has this spear thing that like kind of collapses. It's futuristic, of course, and then Alice has these sickle things, and my god, like Alice nearly dies. Like Jill is just kicking her ass pretty much the whole fight. I mean, Alice of course hits Jill and gives her a run for her money a little bit, but Jill is just kicking her ass. And then what happens is Alice Jill's about to kill Alice by like pushing her onto the track of the tank thing, which is moving, probably from the right queen, but you never know. Alice manages to get the scarab off of Jill, so then she collapses, because that's what happened to Claire when she had it. Was she just sort of collapsed by getting it removed? So Jill is just unconscious on the ice, and then Alice looks over and the girl soldier that injected herself with that virus. Yeah, she has the really cool. If you saw the spoiler-free video, she has the really cool X-ray moves. Like they zoom in and she hits Leon, breaking like a rib. She hits Luthor and his heart just stops completely. Luthor straight up just dies. Alice gets very like upset at watching Luthor die. Leon is on the ground by the submarine they were in. Ada is unconscious on the ground because the girl soldier knocked her out. So then Alice starts trying to fight her, and she gets knocked, and they do another shot of, Alice like shoots her a bunch, and she's like, being all like whatever. Alice does a X-ray of. They did the X-ray thing on Alice, and her heart sort of stopped. Jill froze her a gun, right? It says her name and then froze her a gun. Alice shoots the. Alice had saw a zombie not too long earlier, one of the like Soviet zombie soldiers, under the ice, in the water under the ice. So Alice shoots the ice, so she falls in, and then she falls in, and these two zombies grab her. She manages to get back to the ice, and this soldier promises that she's gonna like track her down and track down Alice and kill her. Alice says good luck with that, and then they show a bunch more zombies are grabbing her and dragging her like under the ice. So she's still alive down there, but she has all those zombies like dragging her down there, so that's fun. And then a helicopter shows up. They put everybody on board. They get the handcuffs off Ada, I believe, before it gets down, or maybe after. And then Alice just blacks out, like she just collapses on the snow. So then it cuts to her waking up, and she's on the helicopter. Becky has, I don't know what it's called, but Becky has that thing that like, I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's like, it looks sort of like tinfoil, but it was like a blanket thing that sort of looked like tinfoil that was wrapped around her. Becky had that over her and was staring at Alice because, she still believes Alice is her mom. Um, I forgot to mention it, but when Alice goes to save Becky, she finds from the liquor, Becky's in this sort of pod thing on the wall. There's another pod as well. Alice beats um basically beats this thing. It she thinks it's dead. She gets Becky out. She gets the other person out and like grabs this grenade belt they had. And then she ends up in a room showing like all the different clones of like herself and stuff that are in the simulations. And then the liquor shows up, so Alice throws down um the grenade belt, and then she uses this grappling hook gun that Ada gave her to shoot herself up, so her and Becky are safe. Um, and when the explosion happens, which kills the liquor and obviously damages like all the like clone room, and then when they were in the tunnels, I'll do one last bad track. When they were in the tunnels, Ada or Alice uses these glasses Ada gave her to like give them the exit to the elevator. But yeah, so they're on the helicopter. Leon puts his hand on Ada's lap, tries to go for it. Ada takes his hand off her lap. Jill says a few lines to Jill goes over to Alice and says it's glad to have you back, and then Alice says the same thing back to Jill since she was, mind controlled. And then they end up at the fucking White House, which is all destroyed, and there's a bunch of military soldiers running around because I guess they're all that's and so they're like walking through these tunnels. Everybody but Alice like walks into a room, and then everybody has to wait for her outside. Wesker uses his super speed thing to stab Alice, basically giving her back her powers because basically Wesker was saying that Alice is their last hope to defeat the Red Queen and defeat all the zombies because the Red Queen is trying to kill all of humanity, and all that of humanity that's left is there by the last. We'll get to it. So basically, Wesker and Alice are talking. Alice is of course getting her powers back, and then so Wesker then leads Alice. I think Ada's with them, Leon and Jill outside, like to the top of the roof. I'm not sure why Becky wasn't with them. I hope Becky is safe. I mean, she should be. I kind of hope nothing bad happens to Becky. I'm not really sure. I don't know enough about the final chapters to fully know like what's gonna happen. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to watch the final chapters. But yeah, so they get up on the roof, and they show like a lot of soldiers and like tanks and stuff around, and some helicopters and stuff. They're all just scattered around like by the White House because that's where all of humanity left is, and they're like killing a bunch of zombies that are trying to get over the wall. And yeah, that's pretty much how this movie ended. Just some speculations before we get into the final chapters. I mean, I'm sure Alice will solve it. I'm not sure what's going to happen to Wesker. I could see Wesker dying as well, but it's hard to say. I hope Leon and Ada are in the final chapters, and if they're not, I hope there's an explanation for it. I hope Jill is also in the final chapters to help out Ada, but if she's not, I hope there's an explanation for it. I hope Alice gets to continue like living life with Becky. I think that would be really cool. I would really like it if Alice gets to still have like Becky with her, and obviously her friends, Jill, Leon, and Ada, and a lot of the other characters. Um, but yeah, I guess that's all I can really speculate on the final chapters right now. I guess I'll find out whenever I watch the final chapters, but those are kind of the things that I'm nervous about. Going into every movie, I've been nervous about something. The extinction, of course, not having Angie hurts. They also, yeah, they really just never mentioned her again. Well, but yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this movie, but it was so good. It's definitely worth it watching it, even if the movie is 10 years old. Technically 11 years old because this came out in 2012 and it's currently 2023. But even for that, like an 11-year-old movie, it's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm definitely doing the final chapters. I don't know when, but it will be very soon. I'm so excited to watch the final chapters to not only end my journey to watch all these movies, but I really just want to see if anything bad happens to Becky or any of the other characters. But with that being said, and before I continue to ramble, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, ring the bell. Share, I, I don't know if I said share the video, but you can share videos. Yeah, do all the geography garbage. It helps us out a lot. It means a lot to us. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video, which will either be the final chapters or another like video game or something. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll see you guys then. Bye.